So President Muhammadu Buhari, the self-described converted Democrat, has today been buried in his hometown of Daura in Katsina State. He'll be remembered by many as a central figure in this country's democratic evolution. However, some critics have also noted his failure to improve Nigeria's economy or its security during his presidency. Paying tribute to his predecessor, President Bola Tinubu called him a patriot, a soldier, and a statesman. He's been praised by many for his anti-corruption stance, but criticized by many others over insecurity, police brutality, and a struggling economy. For many, he leaves behind a mixed legacy, even as millions of Nigerians convey their condolences to his family. But for all, he played his part. Well, for more on the life and legacy of President Buhari, we hope to cross on the line to Daura to be joined by the Director General of the Buhari Organization, Sule Yahaya Hama. But here in the studio with me, the Archbishop Emeritus of the Catholic Diocese of Abuja, John Cardinal Onaiyekan, who declared at one stage during the Buhari presidency that Nigerians had lost confidence in Mr. Buhari's administration. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much.
First of all, your reaction, because I think this is the first time you're talking probably on television about this, your reaction to the passing of the former president.
Very simple, very simple. A normal reaction, especially from a man of religion and faith. Before, when we face death, we are reminded of what our whole life is all about. We are queried once again to examine where are we going, what are we doing in this world. And so it is a time for reflection. Every day, we who are religious people, we do a lot of burials. Every now and again, you requiem mass, you have burial, and every one of those occasions hits us personally. That look at here's another one going, and especially where you bury all kinds of people at different kinds of ages. To come back to our late president, I join the majority of Nigerians, I will say, in saying we wish him God's mercy. The normal, usual R.I.P. requiescat in pace, may he rest in peace with the Lord. We will also add, like we normally add, may God forgive him his failings, because nobody passes through this world without failings. Our scriptures tells us, if you, O Lord, shall mark our guilt, Lord, who would survive? But in the case of, since death is what awaits all of us, we don't know the time, we don't know how. One thing is certain, however, that unless you're a big fool, if you've passed the age of 80, you should know that it's about time. I'm over 80, so I have no illusions at all that I'm going to spend many more years in this world. So I'm constantly reminded that the end is about to come. I always tell my friends that I have my boarding pass in my hand. All that is missing on that boarding pass is the date of the flight.
Trust you to have a bit of a sense of a wry sense of humor.
and
that is classically you, isn't it?
I'm only waiting for when...
some would say it's almost a morbid sense of...
No, not really.
Of humor.
It would be morbid if you didn't know where you were heading to. Because in my boarding pass already has the destination, paradise. And those of us who believe in paradise, we don't wait for it with any trepidation, but rather with high expectation. So what I mean is that the death of President Buhari at the age of 82, we can almost say it is normal. At that age, people die. So there's nothing really particularly shattering about it. If a politician at the age of 40 died, then we can begin to talk. And so because of that, I would thank God for his life.
Right.
I would thank God
well, I mean, you talked about the fact that you hope the Almighty will forgive him. I understand from one of the people who talked to him recently that one of the things he said is that he himself hopes Nigerians will forgive him if he wronged anyone, but that he did his best. What does that tell you about the way he himself summed up his leadership, and how much does it suggest that Nigeria is a very difficult country to lead?
This is a difficult discussion in the sense that definitely it is impressive when someone at his age would ask, and with all that he has done, will ask that those whom he has hurt should forgive him. We can presume that he knows first that he must have hurt many people. But what we don't know is whether he is asking for forgiveness because he hurt them deliberately, or whether the hurt that he caused was really not through his nothing for he has no guilt about those hurts. When you are a head of state, you step on many toes. Sometimes too you have to step on some toes. So it's neither here nor there. But it was wise of him to say, let Nigerians forgive me. I imagine I'm taking that from point of view of his faith, of his religious position. He's a man who believes that it's time to start putting your house in order with the Almighty God. And I think he has done that. We should learn from that. And also, those of us who are still alive, those of them who are still expecting many, many years, they should learn that they have plenty of time to serve God and serve the neighbor.
And throughout his time as president, I mean, there was a consistent sense of frustration coming from you, wasn't there? I mean, you sat on that seat many times. Frustration with his sclerotic style of governance and the things you said he had failed to deliver.
Well, I said it then, and I meant it then. Today, that he's just been buried, I really wouldn't want to go into any more of that, but simply to pray for him that God may rest his soul. Others have talked already about his legacies, and maybe time will come later when the dust settles. If we may have opportunity more to talk again about, to go into details about what he did, what he did not do. We all have our good points and our bad points. But I don't think today is the day to start assessing. Today is more to know the fact that here is a dead body that has just been put into the ground in Daura. And we hope that God will receive him into his home. That's the point that is in my mind now, as well as condolences to his family, right, and the very many people who are missing him.
Nevertheless, you did say that we are in a reflective mood. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And reflection means that we're thinking about him both, I mean, in a positive and in a not so positive way. I wonder if I might ask you whether he shifted the needle for you at all in any way.
Let me go back to what I said about we always leading funerals. One of the points I always make is I would say that on this occasion, this guy in this coffin that is talking to us. It's not we, the preacher, who are talking. In other words, when you meet somebody who has died, that itself is a sermon. And that is the part of it that I really take more seriously, especially today when he has just been buried. He died 2 days ago. We shall have plenty of time to talk about the legacies of Buhari. And I've known him for a long time, because I was already a bishop when he was the military ruler in the early 80s. And I had my own feeling about him at that time. And later on, when he came back as a political head of state. Like I said, for the moment, I'm just thinking about a person who has finished his race and he has gone to his maker, and may he receive a good welcome.
And there was huge expectation, wasn't there, when he came into power, but his health deteriorated in his first term and he was gone for several months as a result. And after he won his second term, COVID hit. How much did both those developments, do you think, set him back? And how much would that have set anybody back?
You are trying to make me say what I don't want to say.
No, I'm just talking. I'm talking.
I don't want. I don't want to go into the assessment.
Cardinal,
I don't want to go into the assessment.
No, but what I'm trying to say to you that there is nothing technically wrong with giving an assessment. It could be you could be assessing the positive things. He did.
And I'm
that's
saying,
perfectly fine.
And I'm saying,
unless there is nothing positive there that you can find to assess.
Positive, negative. I don't just feel that. I don't feel like doing it today when he's been buried. Yes. After that, we have plenty. I have much more reflection.
I understand that, and I respect that.
Yes,
so let me ask you this: from the point of view of Catholic dogma and the way that the Catholics see the passing of a person into the other realm, in other words, death, what would be your interpretation of what happens to a person when they take their last breath? I mean, you mentioned the fact that you attend a lot of funerals,
yes.
and you have to kind of go and pray for people and all the rest of it. Well, what is your sense of what happens to that person? Because for all intents and purposes, the mortal body is essentially dead. And for all we know, it is the brain, the hippocampus and all the rest of it, the parts of the brain that retain memory and essentially give us a sense of life. But you believe that there is something more. Give us a sense of how Catholicism interprets that something more.
Fortunately, what Catholics believe about life after death happens to be shared by not only other Christians, but by almost every religion.
In other words, that there's life after death.
Including my ancestors.
Right.
They believe that when death strikes, it's not the end. It's not the end of him. And even most of the rituals at burial precisely expresses that there is more behind it. There is this great unknown that no one has gone there and come back, except Jesus Christ, who died and rose after 3 days. But somehow, while we don't know what is happening, what's there, there's some clear feeling in the mind that this cannot be the end of it all.
But do you have doubts sometimes about that?
About whether there is something,
about that sense of continuity.
That's a basic element of my faith. That this is not the end. Not only that this is not the end of all, but that what comes next is going to be based on how we have lived this life. I love very much the chapter 25 of St. Matthew, which brings it out in very concrete terms. I was, when the judge will come at the end of the day and at the end and divide the human beings to left and right. Those on the right are those who feed the hungry, who clothed the naked, who gave accommodation to the homeless, who visit prisons, and come into my kingdom. This whole idea of God's kingdom is very clear, not only in the faith, in the Christian faith, it's very clear in the Islamic faith, and in all the other religions. I mean, it's only those who say that they do not have any spiritual sense who can doubt that there is something else beyond what we see now. Already as we are not just body now. We are both body and soul. Because there is not just, even in terms of our health, we don't only take care of our bodily, physical health, we need to take care of our mental health and our spiritual health, all of which are important to have a balanced life here.
But I mean, do you sometimes have questions yourself? I mean, I know you've risen high up in the ranks of the Catholic hierarchy. You are a cardinal, which essentially is one step away from becoming the Pope. I mean,
I think I've missed that.
And that's quite an achievement. I mean, but do you ask yourself questions? Not so much about the possibility or the probability of continuity after death, but in the way that your faith interprets that continuity.
The Catholic faith interprets it in my own opinion, in quite a not so concrete a way. We don't think of heaven in form of in any physical sort of way. We've learnt from early childhood to believe in a life in the spirit, a spiritual kind of life. All that we know about the saints who have gone ahead of us, marked with the sign of faith. We are familiar with that. Like, for example, like we Catholics, we take very much seriously our patron saints who died long ago, but we still somehow feel their presence in a way that our traditional culture had strong feelings about the ancestors who have gone ahead, but who are still around.
But is it your sense that when you or I pass, that you will retain your unique identity as Cardinal John Onaiyekan? Because, I mean, you talked about our ancestors. I mean, they believed in reincarnation. They believed that you would come back and that everybody who's on this earth has come back many, many times. It's a process of purification.
Well, that is one interpretation of the ancestors. I have never had that feeling about my own ancestors. I always had a set of feeling that my ancestors have gone more or less in the same realm and the realm of the saints that I'm familiar with in the Catholic faith. Once you go in the spiritual realm, there is enough space for everybody up there. I mean, it's never going to be crowded, so to speak.
Yeah, but do you think you'll maintain you'd know that you're Cardinal John Onaiyekan? In other words,
I don't know
who used to go to the Arise studios for interviews.
I'm hoping.
And who dodged answering questions periodically.
I'm quite dodging the question. I'm quite sure that I will retain my identity before God. Otherwise, the whole thing doesn't make sense.
You know, the reason I ask you that, Cardinal, is that we had a gentleman from New York who I interviewed a couple of weeks ago. He took a flight on Jeff Bezos' rocket.
Okay.
A Nigerian. And he went into space. The first Nigerian to go into space. And he was so awed by the experience. I mean, he's somebody who is he's a bit of a churchman. He goes to church and things. But when he got there, he was so awed by space and the universe.
The immensity.
And the immensity of it, and looking at it and looking at the earth and seeing this little orb,
you
know, on which so many people were creating problems and so on.
I think is a great thing. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and he came back, and the one thing that struck him was that his faith in a way changed. He suddenly believed that we were. And the whole religious ethos was misinterpreting the kind of being that the Almighty would be, that he's not some kind of God sitting there intervening in human affairs. And because the majesty of what is out there, the awesomeness of it is so great that he simply could not imagine that God trivializing, getting into sort of trivial things. It was more of a God who set immutable laws. If you don't eat, you die. If you don't drink, you die. And we're all going to die.
That is one concept of God, which is not the only one.
Yeah, but I'm wondering what you think of that.
Now, that will not be my own concept of God. Yeah, I would consider almost that as a caricature of God the Almighty. One of my own conviction about religion generally is that our Lord God is so vast that no religion can really fully grasp meaning his essence, his being. And each person accommodates the knowledge of him to the best of his or her ability, according to the experience, to the kind of training you get, the teachings you receive. And it differs, like we have known, it differs from one religion to the other. But I think the basic, the common point I see is that every true religion ought to be humble to realize that we don't know it all. And if you are humble and you know that you don't know it all, then you're quite prepared that some other people may have some idea about this great God, which is not really accessible to you. But that doesn't mean that what is accessible to you is wrong. It just means it's not the whole. No one has the whole picture about God. It's not only your friend who went to space. The first people who landed on the moon too had the same experience, and those of them who were Christians. One of them was a Catholic. Armstrong was a Catholic. He came back more determined about belief in the almighty power of God compared to ourselves. And to think that, and we should realize that even this space, the moon, even if you go as far as the Mars, that's still not the spiritual realm we are talking about.
Right. Well, it's been great having you here, and we kind of deviated from the
to theology and philosophy
from the main point. But then I suppose people, as you said, it's a reflective experience, and people do get philosophical at times like this. Before we go, and as we look at those pictures on the screen of all the people who attended President Buhari's funeral today in Daura in Katsina State, how do you think he will be remembered?
By them.
Well, by you and by Nigerians. Or perhaps I should say, how should we remember him?
I don't know, honestly. As you know, human beings are very funny. Those whom you think people will remember well, they forget him quickly. And those whom they remember for a variety of reasons. It's good that you pointed at the crowd. It will be interesting to know how each of them sincerely feels. And I don't imagine that they will all have the same feeling. And that's why I said the final assessment of Buhari, we have to wait. Let him settle down wherever he is. And then we have time to think and to say, well, he did a lot. Yes, whether as a soldier, a military ruler, and as a politician, and as an old elderly man, 82. He was older than me by 1 year. But that means that he has lived. He has done his own part. I don't know how they will remember him. I am a kind who will want to remember only good things about people. So I'm likely to have a kind of selective amnesia of the things that I didn't like about him. Because I'm naturally somebody who likes to believe the best of people. And I must say it very honestly, like I feel for every human person who dies, that I hope you will enter heaven. Where else do I want anybody to go to?
Indeed. On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. The Archbishop Emeritus of the Catholic Diocese of Abuja, John Cardinal Onaiyekan. Great to see you again. Thank you very much indeed.
God bless you.